Hello, welcome to the CSS Selectors tutorial. CSS selectors are the patterns used to select an element or elements from a web page. So, knowing CSS selectors is really important for automation testers and front-end developers. In this tutorial we are going to talk about those patterns that we use to select elements in a web page. To practice CSS patterns, I have created a web page in GitHub. Open Chrome browser and type expound.conz/github.io/css-tutorial in the address bar. Click on the URL appeared on the video or the URL is given in the description. And I will tell you how to use the Chrome Developer Console to write and test CSS. Right-click on the web page and click on Inspect, which brings you the Chrome Developer window. I have created this web page to support all the activities that you are going to do in this video. So, try to pause the video and practice while you are learning. In Developer window, you can see the structure of a web page, which is called DOM in the Elements tab. And if you mouse hover on elements, it will select the relevant element on the web page. You can click on the three dots and move the developer window to a position where you feel it fits. Click on Console tab and click on Clear icon or key press Command and K to clear the console. So this is the place we are going to write and test our CSS selectors. To find an element, you can right-click on the element and inspect the element, or click on the arrow button and mouse hover on the element. Then, to write the CSS selector, let's go to the console. So we are going to test the CSS selector within a jQuery syntax because it is powerful, as we can execute csum command as well. To start, type $signs and open parenthesis. And write the CSS selector within double quotation marks. The first CSS selector we are going to learn is the tag. You can just type the tag of an element and select all the elements with that tag in the page. Once you press enter, it will show you all the elements captured. Then you can mouse hover on each element. Try to add some other tags like div and input and play around. Okay, now let's see how to select any element of the web page. It is so simple. Just type asterisk and C. It will select all the elements on the page. Now let's see how we can select nested elements. As an example, we will find all the P elements inside div elements. What you need to do is type div, space and P. It will select all the P elements within div elements. The space tells the second element is not necessary to be an adjacent element. So it will select any child with P tag within that division. And I built this site for you to practice CSS selectors. Navigate through the elements and you can see it says the speciality about each element to test. As an example, it will say I have an ID, or I have the attribute called test ID. Then let's see how to find element with the given ID in it. We use # to represent ID. In the website, select the element that has text, I have an ID. Right-click and inspect the element, then you can see ID of the element is ID-1. Type #ID-1 in this case. Press enter and mouse hover on the listed element. You will see it highlight the element we selected. Now let's see how we can find an element by class name. Right-click on element that has text I have a class and inspect. Then you will see its class name is colored box. In CSS selectors, class is represented by a dot. So go to your jQuery and type .coloredBox in the double quotes. And press enter, it will select the element. Actually, In this case it will be lot of elements, because that class name was used in lot of elements in the page. That is one reason for not to select element by class name, since we are using the class name mostly to style the element. Next, let's see how we can use multiple classes to identify an element uniquely. Select the element called I have many classes and inspect. Copy all the classes of that element and type it in your jQuery with a dot. Seems element is not selected. Let's try to add dots before each class. Still the element is not selected. Okay, to solve it, let's remove the spaces. Now it will select the element. Now let's try to select element using an attribute. Select and inspect the element that has a text, I have test ID attribute. So here, the attribute is test-id and the value is test ID-1. And this element is a p element. So now go to your jQuery and type p, open square bracket, test-id equals, open single quote, test ID-1, close the single quote in the square bracket. That will select the element. Even class and ID, we can use as an attribute. So you can use ID equals ID-1 within square bracket instead of using hash. Same for class 2. We can use both tag and ID to identify the element. Similarly, tag and class or tag and attribute as well. So if we need to identify the p tag, where ID is ID-1, you can use p has ID-1 as the jQuery selector. If you compare XPath with the CSS Selector, the CSS Selector is always simple, powerful and will be same for the most of the browsers. Similarly, you can try to identify the p elements where the class name is boxed element. So the CSS Selector will be p.boxed element. Play around little bit. Now let's see how we can identify child elements. If you need to find all the p elements inside div elements, what you can do is type div, space, p. But this space has a special meaning. That is, the second element is not necessary to be the immediate or the adjacent child. That means, in this case, p can be at any level within the division. If you need immediate or adjacent element, use greater than sign instead of the space between two elements. Inspect nav elements. You can see the element hierarchy in the nav section. UL is an adjacent element of nav and LI is an adjacent element of UL. We can write the CSS selector for above-mentioned adjacent elements like nav greater than sign, UL greater than sign, LI. It will select all LI elements. But if you type nav greater than sign LI, it won't select any element, since LI is not an adjacent child of nav. Since it is already too long for this tutorial, I am gonna make another tutorial to cover remaining CSS selectors. So next tutorial we are gonna talk about first child, last child, nth child and type, links kind of concepts in CSS Selector. Please subscribe this channel, if you like to receive more nice videos like this, in future. Don't forget to like, comment and share as well. Then, see you in the next tutorial. Thank you for watching.